The Rookie of the Year award. This award signifies a lot of things as your NBA career is just getting started. It signifies how you are the player with the most potential outdoing all of your peers in your first season, signifies the impressive achievements you've done in your first season in the league, and of course, it puts you on top of your class and will bring you more and more notoriety that you can use for your future success in one way or another. And with Paolo Banchero being the clear runaway winner of this 2022-23 season so far, as we get closer to the end of the season, let's look back what can potentially be in store for him as we look to see what happened to the last 10 NBA Rookie of the Year winners. Now, not everyone's story will be the same, especially for someone as impressive as Paolo has been this season, as his rookie campaign has been a joy to see. But with the 10 we will look out today, each of them having their own stories of triumph, declines, and some just being straight up one-hit wonders, and you know who exactly I'm talking about in this situation. And just like my most improved player video, we'll be looking at their rookie season in full, who they won it against, and how their future turned out due to it. So if that sounds good, then sit back, grab a snack, and enjoy, because this will be a long one. And be sure to like the video for more videos like these, and subscribe to keep up with every new upload. But with all that out of the way, you already know who it is. Roll it!
3, 2, 1.
Waits in the weight room, so he stitched up in the left. He can't do it all that.
But before we get into this video, with only a few more months until the NBA playoffs and March Madness just around the corner, today may need to be the day you check out today's video sponsor, DraftKings. Ever since the start of the NBA season this year, I made it my goal to try to use my basketball knowledge and prediction skills to make daily picks on who I think will achieve certain stats and totals each night. And you can do the same with DraftKings in their daily fantasy and money lines. But for new users of DraftKings, if you just bet $5 on a pregame money line for any basketball game, you'll get $150 in bonus bets deposited in your account if your bet wins. And if you're wondering what you can do with that extra $150, you can try out the same game parlays where you can combine multiple bets for one game, like which player will score first and which team will end up winning at halftime for even bigger winnings. And don't worry, for the people who don't have it available in your state, you can still get on the fun with DraftKings Daily Fantasy. Again, download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. New customers use promo code ALVINI and bet $5 on a pregame money line for any basketball game and get $150 in bonus bets if your bet wins. That's promo code ALVINI only at DraftKings Sportsbook. And thank you again for DraftKings for sponsoring this video, and let's get back into it. With the 6th pick of the 2012 NBA draft, the Portland Trail Blazers draft Damian Lillard out of Weber State, a small school in Ogden, Utah. It became their first ever lottery pick, and also being the new point guard of the Trail Blazers, who was going on a sharp decline due to the injuries of their all-star player Brandon Roy, the leader of the Blazers, and turmoil in the franchise as he switched coaches the year before he was drafted. Damian Lillard coming into the league was absolutely one of the most impressive fourth-year college players in the college ranks, averaging 24 points a game on damn near 50, 40, 90 splits, and he came in at the perfect draft where there weren't too many super impressive guards available, with names like Austin Rivers, Terrence Ross, Kendall Marshall, and Jeremy Lamb being drafted behind him in the draft, because as we all know, fourth-year college players are sometimes undervalued due to their initial age coming into the league. But one of the upsides they have is the immediate impact they can bring a team, and that's exactly what Damian Lillard brought to the NBA as soon as he touched down, with the potential to bring the Blazers back to relevancy with an already built team with all-star LaMarcus Aldridge, top shooter Wesley Matthews, and an improving Nick Batum at 24 years old. And that's exactly what he brought, averaging 19 points a game in his rookie season, which led all rookies by a wide margin, and while shooting pretty well at the same time from the field and from three, getting used to NBA defenses. He gave the Trail Blazers exactly what they were missing, as they were still mourning the loss of Brandon Roy's injury history as a new light at the end of the tunnel with time and development, and he showed a lot to be desired on that team, breaking the rookie three-point record in the season with 185 threes made, which broke Stephen Curry's record by 20 whole threes, scoring over 30 points in 5 separate games, and again, looking like the most complete rookie out of the entire class. But that's exactly what you get from a 22-year-old 4-year college rookie. So with all of that, you wouldn't even be surprised to hear that he won Rookie of the Year in the 2012-13 season in unanimous fashion season, taking all 121 first place votes with barely any discussion of who else could take it. With this amazing rookie season done with, he was ready to continue getting better and better and become one of the NBA's best point guards, and with his second season, he did not disappoint with his first ever All-Star appearance and starting the legacy of Dame time, because as we all know, in his first ever playoff series, leading the Trailblazers to the 5th seed with a 54-28 record, they faced the Houston Rockets with James Harden and Dwight Howard, but in a very hard-fought 6-game series, he would once again submit himself in the realm of NBA history, hitting one of the most clutchest NBA playoff shots in the 2010s.
Foul to give for Houston. 9/10 left. A 3 wins the series. It's Lillard. He got the shot off. Lillard, good! And the Blazers win the series for the first time in 14.
And with Damian Lillard winning the Trailblazers their first ever playoff series in 14 years, there was zero doubt that he was going to be the franchise player. Unfortunately, this would be totally proven as his teammates would leave for greener pastures across the league before the 2015-16 season, his 4th season in the NBA. But in that season in particular is where he was considered to be one of the top point guards in the NBA, averaging 25 points a game while carrying the Blazers to a second round, losing to the Golden State Warriors, who would end up breaking the NBA single season wins record, so no one could really blame him, really. But since then, the talks about Damian Lillard stayed the same for 2 reasons. At one point, he was considered the best point guard in the NBA, even regarded better than Stephen Curry in multiple occasions. From that infamous season until now, he has averaged 27 points a game on 44, 37, 90 splits and carried his team many times in the playoffs. However, on the other hand, for how good Damian Lillard has become, he could never take the Blazers to the promised land with only 1 conference finals appearance to show for it. Of course, we cannot blame Damian for all this, as he's done his part many on top of many a times. In the current day, he has had multiple playoff records to show for it though, which includes the record for the most made threes in a playoff game with 12, scoring the 7th most points in an NBA playoffs game with 55, and even scoring 50 in 2019. And of course, we can't forget about his game winners in the playoffs, including his half-court bomb against a dynamic duo of Paul George and Russell Westbrook.
A chance to send the Thunder home. Lillard, long-range 3, and it's good! At the buzzer! Damian Lillard! Are you kidding me?
But as we all know, his career has been defined by one word: loyalty. Damian Lillard will forever be justified to leave his team that drafted him, as they failed to put a contending cast around him, where his second best player for most of his career being CJ McCollum. And with that duo breaking up a season ago, people thought that would be the breaking point, but he's still there to this day, struggling to make the playoffs, where in the current day, he's playing his best basketball, averaging a career high of 31 points a game. However, with the Blazers currently under 500 and out of the play-in tournament rankings right now, Damian Lillard will always be remembered as one of the best point guards of the 2010s, but his team's shortcoming and not leaving them for that reason will make his entire career retrospective even weirder than it needs to be. However, he is an amazing first start to this video as a worthy winner and example of what it means to back up winning a prestigious award like the Rookie of the Year trophy.
With the 11th pick in the 2013 NBA Draft, the Philadelphia 76ers select Michael Carter-Williams from Syracuse University.
With the 13th pick of the infamous 2013 NBA Draft, the Philadelphia 76ers picked the 6'5" Michael Carter-Williams from Syracuse. During his time in college, he really made a name for himself in his sophomore campaign for his all-around game and being a top playmaker in the NCAA with 7 assists per game. However, just like I said earlier, the 2013 draft was infamous for a lot of reasons, and its main one was the lack of real top talent and a lot, and I mean a lot, of interesting prospects. And MCW was a huge part of that. In his second season at Syracuse, he may have shown a lot of promise as a playmaker and defender, but his offensive game lacked a lot. He scored 11 points a game, but get this, while having shooting splits of 39% from the field, 29% from 3 on 3 attempts a game, and 69% from the free throw line for an effective field goal percentage of 43%. MCW was not a scorer by any means, and had a lot of work to do, and debatably should have stayed in college for one more year just to try to pick up his draft stock and be able to show that he can actually play some basketball. But I am sure he saw himself on the draft boards in this week draft, at least on the surface, and went for the money. And again, I have zero problem with that. Hey, he was definitely justified to do that. And it's exactly what he'd get as a late lottery pick, and with the best team possible in the draft in the Philadelphia 76ers, who would give him ample opportunity to figure it out as they were in the process, just throwing shit at the wall when it came to NBA players and tried to see what sticked. And in his credit, in his rookie season in particular, he absolutely gave something for fans everywhere to look forward to, where in his first game ever against the champions of the NBA last year, Miami Heat, he would put up possibly the best NBA debut ever in NBA history with a near quadruple double with 22 points, 12 assists, 7 rebounds, and 9 steals. But as weird as this is to say, it's very much true. Have you ever heard of someone who peaked as soon as they came into the NBA? Because MCW was that exact player. After the infamous game, eyes everywhere around the league were looking to see if he could do it again with a 76ers team who would end up winning only 19 games that season. To his credit, he ended up ending the season with 2 triple-doubles that season. He ranked 8th in total steals that season, 19th in assists with 6 a game, and led all rookies in points, assists, and rebounds, which has to be a first in the season. And with all of those factors, he ran away with this Rookie of the Year award with barely any competition, where the only other person to get real considerations was Victor Oladipo. For reference, MCW got 104 first place votes, and Oladipo only got 16. But with that Rookie of the Year award, again, the rest is history. MCW will be expected to keep improving, as he was designated as the top rookie in his first season. However, we gotta look at the negatives that would end up actually defining his entire career. First, just like his college campaign, his shooting still struggled big time, especially from the three-point line, still as a 26% shooter in his rookie year, but at least he had a solid mid-range and excelled while driving in, making 55% of his shots in the paint. And lastly, he showed that his body wasn't very suited for the league already, having slight injury concerns in his rookie season, but he still managed to play 70 games in that same season. But again, this would end up being his peak as an NBA player, which I hope isn't too harsh to say. Getting traded the next year to the Milwaukee Bucks, and would end up continuing being a journeyman for the rest of his career. In his sophomore season in particular, his numbers dropped from his rookie numbers, and he even put up more turnovers a game at 4 a game, and even ended up top 10 in turnovers a game that season. So I can only imagine the 76ers saw the writing on the wall and traded him before his value would totally tank. And MCW couldn't make them regret that decision, as he would only prove them right, getting more and more injuries and never improving at his overall game, never cracking over 30% from beyond the arc, and rarely hitting over 40% from the field. But again, his Rookie of the Year campaign will be remembered for his positives, while the rest of his career will be remembered for how he could not bring back that rookie season magic. Even if you could argue it was a total flash in the pan, if even that.
With the first pick in the 2014 NBA Draft, the Cleveland Cavaliers select Andrew Wiggins from Toronto and the University of Kansas.
With the first overall pick of the 2014 NBA Draft, the Cleveland Cavaliers draft the Canadian phenom from Kansas, Andrew Wiggins. With this selection, Andrew Wiggins, we matched up with Kyrie Irving and create a dynamic duo of talent meant to terrorize the NBA for years to come, until he was traded to the Minnesota Timberwolves soon after for the arrival of LeBron James, as he wanted another star around him. So instead of being able to grow with another star in the making, he's all by himself in Minnesota. But coming into the NBA, Andrew Wiggins was on top of everything in the basketball world. Top basketball recruit in high school, went to a top basketball college in Kansas, All-American in college, and now picked top of the class in the NBA draft with all types of potential. And in Minnesota, where he could be the sole expected star player after being traded for Kevin Love, it would be his opportunity to become whatever he wanted as an NBA player, and all eyes would be on him as he had enormous expectations due to his upbringing in basketball. And it was safe to say his rookie season was rather ordinary for a first overall pick. It had its ups and downs as he was trying to figure out the NBA game, and everyone was along the ride to see when he'd have his explosion people expected. And his best best game that season came against the Cleveland Cavaliers, against LeBron and company, where he put up 33 points against the team that would originally draft him and trade him weeks later. But at the end of the season, he put up 16 points a game, leading all rookies, with shooting splits of 43% from the field, 31% from three, and 76% from the free throw line. And there wasn't much competition towards that trophy, earning 110 first place votes, while the second place Nikola Mirotic only got 14. But with that season over and done with, now comes the eventual rise into superstardom people would expect for him. Going from 16 points to 20 in his second season on better shooting, and then to 23 points in his third, while becoming a better three-point shooter. However, after that point, questions arose as he dropped back down to his rookie numbers at 17 points a game, and this was due to the infamous season with Jimmy Butler, so it made some sort of sense. But even after Jimmy Butler left, he couldn't crack back into the 20s, only scoring 18 points a game that next season. This is where you would see people asking about why he wouldn't be improving anymore and defending his placement as a #1 overall pick, especially for how naturally talented he was as a player. And then now you have people calling him a bust from all angles. In his entire tenure in Minnesota, he would only average 19 points a game, go to the playoffs once, and in his one time in the playoffs, disappoint immensely. Was it justified? For the most part, yes, but it's hard to be great in a sport no matter what type of potential you have. But it's just seemed like to a lot of people that he just straight up didn't care, especially after receiving his mega extension deal to stay with the Timberwolves. However, in the 2019-20 season, his entire career would be rewritten for the best as he was traded to the Golden State Warriors, one of the best NBA organizations in the league. With the Golden State Warriors, he is now able not to be thrusted with all the offensive load as he can focus on something much more important that the team needed: more defense. Coming into the NBA, people saw him as a Kobe Bryant-like player who could become one of the best two-way stars of this generation. But in Minnesota, he never focused on that defensive potential. But with Steve Kerr's help and guidance, he would immediately turn Andrew Wiggins into one of the best defenders in the NBA. And with that, he was able to earn his first ever All-Star appearance, even if it was earned in a very interesting manner. I'm looking at you, Twitter, and earned his first ever NBA championship. While Wiggins was never able to tap into that initial potential people saw him as, being a very important piece to a championship team speaks volumes to his versatility as a player that just wasn't tapped into until he was matched with a coach who saw what he could bring to a team.
With the first pick in the 2015 NBA Draft, the Minnesota Timberwolves select Karl Anthony Towns from the University of Kentucky.
With the first pick of the 2015 NBA Draft, the Minnesota Timberwolves select Karl Anthony Towns from Kentucky, and he was a sight to behold in college. Cat at Kentucky was one of the most dominant Kentucky squads ever, with himself, Willie Cauley-Stein, Devin Booker, Trey Lyles, and the Harrison twins. Overall, they had 9 future NBA players on that team, and it created one of the heaviest Kentucky-led drafts in NBA history, with 4 of them alone going in the lottery. But leading the team was Karl Anthony Towns, who was looking to revolutionize the center spot, being a center who can both post up people at 6'11" and 250 pounds and extend the court with his mid-range jumper and budding three-point shot, while also averaging 2 blocks a game in college. The perfect modern-day big man if given time to mature in the NBA. But off the bat, you can see the star power emerging from Cat, playing with other first overall pick Andrew Wiggins and other lottery pick Zach LaVine, immediately placing himself as a superstar of the future. In his first season with the Timberwolves, he showed everyone why he was absolutely deserving to be the #1 overall pick, averaging a double-double with 18 points a game and almost 11 rebounds a game, while also showing potential as a playmaker with 2 assists alongside that. In the season, he showed many games that showed that if he kept improving, he'd be a top big man in the NBA, getting 4 30-point games, flirting with triple-doubles on multiple occasions, showing his paint protection prowess all over, being 10th place in blocks per game, and being 8th in rebounds also in his rookie season. And once again, I gotta say it was easy to imagine why he ended up unanimously winning Rookie of the Year honors over his entire class. He clearly showed the best stats-wise and all around as a player, while at the same time backing up, again, his #1 overall pick status. However, throughout the rest of his career, there would be a lot of question marks placed on him as a player, and the main criticism was the fact that he was now being labeled as a soft player. Whether it was the viral picture of himself trying to post up DeMarcus Cousins, or the fact that he started going less and less at the rebounds after his 4th season, and the same with his blocking numbers literally peaking in his rookie season, or the fact that he prefers shooting threes than being in the paint. A lot of people's criticism may seem pretty valid, but if there's one thing we can all agree on, Karl-Anthony Towns has literally grown into what people expected, a top center candidate year after year. And at a statistical peak last year, he averaged 24 points, 9 rebounds, and 3 assists a game, while almost being in the 50-40-90 club if it wasn't for his free throw percentage being 82%. But after proving to everyone he's the rightful owner of his #1 pick status, proving he can be a top center candidate, and even proving he can really shoot the basketball, being a top shooter as a center, and funny enough, winning a 3-point contest, there is only one more roadblock for him to prove: being a competitive member of the postseason. Because after being in the NBA for 8 seasons currently, he has only been to the playoffs twice. Once with Jimmy Butler, and his second with his new star in Anthony Edwards. However, in both occasions, he has underachieved and been a main component for their losses in both tries, especially last year blowing massive leads to a beatable and young Memphis Grizzlies team, averaging nearly 5 turnovers a game and being a foul magnet in that series, also averaging nearly 5 fouls a game. But he's only 27 at the time of this video and has plenty of time to figure things out to keep up the trajectory of a #1 overall pick. However, with how the Timberwolves are running things, he's either on his way out sooner or later, or the Timberwolves will just ruin things for him forever.
With the 36th pick in the 2016 NBA Draft, the Milwaukee Bucks select Malcolm Brogdon from the University of Virginia.
Class guy, tough guy, first team All-American, averaged 18 points per game. Everything you want in a young man, you'll find in Malcolm Brogdon.
Well, he's a leader, he's a defender, another guy with a crazy wingspan of 6'10". Comfortable coming off of screens and scoring. He's got a little bit of an unorthodox shot. It's flat, but he makes it. And Malcolm Brogdon plays at both ends of the floor. You know, he can handle the ball. He's an excellent cutter. He knows how to play without the ball, more importantly. But he'll do whatever it takes to win and whatever it takes to get on.
With the 36th overall pick, yes, you heard me, the 36th overall pick of the 2016 NBA Draft, the Milwaukee Bucks select the 4th-year senior from Virginia, Malcolm Brogdon. And just know, even though you should already know if you're watching this video, this is where the rest of the Rookie of the Year selections gets weird for their own reasons. And it starts with Malcolm Brogdon, who became the first ever second-round pick to ever receive the Rookie of the Year trophy. How did that start? Well, as we all know, being a 4th-year college player has its advantages and disadvantages. The disadvantage being the lowering of draft stock due to your age coming into the NBA, because young teams won't take you due to that reason. However, the advantage is being a more experienced player means a more experienced team will want to take you in for immediate use if earned. And for Malcolm Brogdon to be drafted by the Milwaukee Bucks was the best thing to have ever happened to him. Being a leader of the Virginia team showed that he knew how to come onto a team and be a responsible NBA player and very coachable, which again showed that he had top role player status written all over him. And with him coming onto a team with a clear point guard problem, starting guys like Matthew Dellavedova, he was able to come into the starting lineup at times and be very serviceable as a player to help Milwaukee win games. And the crazy thing is, he only started 28 of the 75 games he played that season. Overall, though, he put up averages of 10 points and 4 assists a game as a rookie, which obviously isn't impressive and sounds like bench point guard stats. However, the 2016 draft had a lot of interesting characters who just didn't work out in their first season. Top pick Ben Simmons got injured before the season started. Brandon Ingram and Jaylen Brown didn't get much playing time in their rookie seasons. Dragon Bender was a bust, and if you look down the rest of the class, everyone else just had their own reasons for not being front runners. But with that being said, do you want to know who this race came down to when it came to votes? It came down to himself, who got 64 first place votes. Dario Saric, who averaged 12 points a game, was a primary starter for the 76ers. And finally, the most controversial, Joel Embiid with 23 first place votes, who averaged 20 points a game. However, only played 33 games due to injury management and also had 2 years to prepare himself, being injured right out the gate in his rookie season. And remember, he was a part of the 2014 class and we're currently in 2016. So Malcolm got it off the fact that he brought so much impact and brought his team more success from his play, even though they were only 2 games over 500, but hey, a win is a win. Now, when it came down to the rest of his career in the NBA so far, Malcolm continued to get better and better as a Buck, staying 3 seasons with them until he was traded by the Bucks due to his looming free agency status to the Pacers, which gave him a 4-year, $85 million deal in a sign and trade. But in Indiana, he only got better, but never entirely competed for much, and also had injuries keeping him down for the most part every season, only playing at most 56 games as a Pacer. But at his best, he did average 21, 5, and 5, but his real start to his career happened on July the 9th, 2022, where he was traded to the championship hopeful Boston Celtics, where he is now providing the Celtics with very valuable minutes as a 6th man and being a top 6 man in the league. He is now back to the role where he provided the Bucks as a rookie, but this time on a team looking to go back to the NBA Finals, and I think that serves him so much better than being a starter like he was on the Pacers. But his route to winning his Rookie of the Year award will be forever one of the most interesting ways to win it in NBA history.
With the first pick in the 2016 NBA Draft, the Philadelphia 76ers select Ben Simmons from Melbourne, Australia, and Louisiana State University.
With the first overall pick of the 2016 NBA Draft, the Philadelphia 76ers select a once-in-a-lifetime prospect, at least at the time, in Ben Simmons, who had all types of comparisons in his game. A 6'10", 220-pound point guard is not something you see every day, especially one who was the NCAA's best playmaker and a matchup nightmare. Too big for guards or even wings to guard him, and too crafty for centers to contain him. He had superstar written all over him coming into the draft, and the 76ers drafted him in mind to be a perfect duo with another pick of theirs in Joel Embiid. And once again, he showed what he could have been in the NBA in his summer league debut that year, averaging 10 points, 7 rebounds, and 5 assists. Unfortunately, though, he sustained an injury before the season started after that, but coming into the 2017-18 season, hopes were high for the young Simmons, gaining more muscle and finally being able to play with a fully healthy Embiid. And he did not disappoint at all, breaking records like only the second most triple doubles for a rookie ever, garnering many 15-assist games, and bullying NBA players as a rookie. But most impressively was his stat line as a rookie, with stats of 15 points, 8 rebounds, and 8 assists, which ranked him 5th in assists in a game and 3rd in total assists. His rookie season had a lot going for it and proved to people what he could have been. A new age LeBron, a new age Magic Johnson, with his size, athleticism, and craft. Only problem is his lack of a jump shot, but I'm sure he'll get over that eventually, right? But anyways, when it came down to his rookie campaign, there was also another contestant going after it himself, and Donovan Mitchell, who in his true rookie season averaged 20 points a game while leading his team to a playoff spot, while Ben Simmons had the luxury of having Joel Embiid take the offensive load while he did everything else. This debate was really wild online, as you had two sides siding with Donovan Mitchell, who was a true rookie and exceeding expectations as a late lottery pick, while Ben Simmons had a year to prepare and work out in NBA facilities. If you ask me, I'm on the side of D-Mitch supporters. What he did was absolutely amazing and is very rarely done. But the same can be said for Simmons, so again, I can see what the parallel was. But when it came down to the voters, they gave Ben Simmons a wide margin of victory, giving him 90 first place votes, while Donovan Mitchell only got 11. So Ben Simmons claimed the Rookie of the Year trophy to a lot of people's dismay. But after helping the Sixers make it to the second round of the playoffs in their first playoff berth in years, you can imagine the optimism from Ben Simmons watchers all around. If he was able to average a near triple-double in his rookie season, we might be looking at one of the best players of our generations in a few seasons. However, what ended up happening was absolutely out of nowhere when it came to people's expectations. For one, even though Ben Simmons would go on to make 3 straight All-Star appearances in a row after his rookie season, there was never really any more huge changes to his game or stats when it came to improvements outside of his defense being some of the best in the league. He's been the same player ever since he came into the league, and people found that to be very concerning towards him actually becoming something in the league, or at least something major. But that's when the incident happened, where on June 20th, 2021, in Game 7 of the Eastern Conference second round, he would be publicly ridiculed for giving up a layup against Danilo Gallinari for a pass to teammate Matisse Thybulle. That incident would be the beginning of the end of his time in Philly, and some would even say his career in general. I won't go into specifics though, I've already done separate videos on that, but after his time in Philly in the 2021-22 season, he would then be traded to Brooklyn, where people would expect him to come back to form since he got away from what he would call a toxic environment with the Sixers. But in the time that we've seen with Ben in Brooklyn, he's been anything but that. In this current season, he's been putting up career lows in most of his categories and shooting 43% from the free throw line. Ever since his time in college, he's been criticized for not having much of a drive for the sport of basketball and how he lacked a true work ethic. And now this has been proven years later as he is slowly declining on his own accord, but at least he'll be set for life with his contract that he currently has. But it's sad to see a person of his caliber and all of his potential do this to himself. But I guess we'll potentially see a comeback. You just never know. It's Ben Simmons, bro.
With the third pick in the 2018 NBA Draft, the Atlanta Hawks select Luka Doncic from Ljubljana, Slovenia, and Real Madrid.
And with the third pick of the 2018 NBA Draft, the Atlanta Hawks select the Slovenian superstar from the EuroLeague, Luka Doncic. Luka coming into the NBA had a lot of questions about him that can probably be written down as European skepticism, but I could not imagine why he had so many skeptics. Luka was quite literally, the MVP of the EuroLeague as an 18-year-old and won the entire thing at the same time. Someone of that status isn't something you see every day, especially considering a lot of EuroLeague prospects are usually people playing in different countries or leagues or just a bench guy on a EuroLeague team. But here is one of the top players possible and still receiving a lot of flack for some odd reason. These reasons include his lack of foot speed, being on the pudgier side of 6'6", and his Euro-centric game. And the cherry on top, being traded for Trae Young on draft night, the real target for the Atlanta Hawks. So with all these eyes on Luka Doncic, how does he respond? Well, he gave us one of the best rookie seasons in NBA history. Luka Doncic immediately showed the NBA world all the skepticism he received was just talk, especially when he threw some shade at the NBA, saying that it was easier to score in the NBA than it was in the EuroLeague. And for reference, in the EuroLeague, he averaged 16 points in EuroLeague play last year, but in his rookie season, he would go on to increase that to 21 points a game in debatably the best league in the world as a 19-year-old. He showed from day one that the NBA was his league to dominate, and he had many great moments in his rookie season to show for it. Most noticeably though is his 8 triple-doubles he put up in his rookie season, his many game winners and game-tying shots, and what really got him into the space of superstardom in the future, beating the KD-led Warriors by 35 while getting his triple-double. And with this literally historic season being done, you'd expect him to win Rookie of the Year in unanimous fashion like others before, but no, Trae Young was still able to steal a few first-place votes away from him. But since then, man, there is so much to talk about the dominance that has been Luka Magic. And as you know, as a Clippers fan, I know way too much about that. We can talk about how he was in the MIP talks in the second season, improving his numbers to 28 points a game and almost averaging a triple-double in the second season, leading his team to the playoffs every year since his second season, beating down the Phoenix Suns in amazing fashion in last year's playoffs. The list goes on, but in his current situation and now in current day, he is currently avoiding a problem that he has had to face for years, and this is lack of help. The Dallas Mavericks management has finally been able to bring this carry artist help in this current season by trading for Christian Wood, who has helped immensely during the first half of the season, and now an all-star level player in Kyrie Irving during the trade deadline to make a dynamic duo of himself and Kyrie. Now it only comes down to if Luka can make it back to the conference finals and potentially his first ever finals with his new cast of characters. I guess we'll see, but the sky's the limit for Luka Doncic in the NBA, and he will once again shows what it means to be a Rookie of the Year winner and keeping up that same momentum for the rest of your career.
With the second pick in the 2019 NBA Draft, the Memphis Grizzlies select Ja Morant from Murray State University.
With the second pick of the 2020 NBA Draft, The Memphis Grizzlies draft a high-flying prospect from Murray State, Ja Morant, your gritty man himself. Ja Morant shows you what one infamous season in college can do for you stock-wise. Going to a mid-major school in Murray State basically gives you less exposure towards an NBA career off the jump. But with the help of dunking on every player he saw and creating highlights all over the place, it can really do a lot for you, bringing in more and more attention to yourself and forcing scouts to take notice. If that happened for Obi Toppin a few years later, it can definitely happen for Ja Morant. In college, he averaged 24 points and 10 assists a game, basically playing NBA-style ball in the NCAA. However, the only red flag was the fact that he had a horrendous turnover rate, earning a NCAA high of 5.2 turnovers a game. But of course, that can be fixed later. And with that and an amazing NCAA tournament campaign, he was drafted right behind Zion Williamson in the draft. But in his rookie season, he was perfectly able to utilize his top-tier athleticism in the next level because no one can keep up with him, no one can jump with him, and no one could compare a likewise experience to even try to contain him, as the only player like him we've been able to see in modern day times is, of course, Derrick Rose. And with that upside to his advantage, he was able to really have a solid rookie season, averaging 17 points and 7 assists a game, continuing what he was doing in the NCAA ranks. And of course, dunking and showing off his athleticism at any point he could. When it came to competition in his class, though, as you can imagine, there was little competition. In fact, it was so little that he took all first place votes except one, and it was due to a man named Joe Crowley, who said, defending his vote on Twitter, and I quote, "Ja is a transcendent player, no arguing that, but the Rookie of the Year should go to the most impactful. The NBA built a TV schedule around Zion and expanded a bubble for Zion. His 24 games were must-see television. I'll take that 24 and change PER and stand on that side of history." As you can imagine, he was clowned absolutely online, and Ja Morant responded with a simple, "Have a blessed day, Joe." But anyways, despite that, he won the Rookie of the Year award with very little competition outside of the very much injured Zion Williamson. But since his rookie season, he has only slowly transcended more and more, except his second season, however, where there was a small bump in the road as Ja Morant suffered an injury to his lower body that kept him out for some time, and due to that, barely increased his numbers. In fact, if you look at the numbers, he played worse shooting the ball wise from the field and from three. But at year 3 and beyond, he only proved to people that he was, in fact, that guy. In year 3, he went and took the NBA by storm, averaging 27 points a game while having career-high shooting splits from the field and from the three-point line. And due to that, he actually won the Most Improved Player award for how he bounced back from the injury to become one of the best point guards in the NBA. With that, and he also leading the Grizzlies to the 2nd seed and took them to the 2nd round. However, in his current season, things have been pretty interesting, to say the least, for Ja Morant. During the summer, he got into an altercation with a teenager and assaulted him, which he ended up getting sued for. And also, he was involved with an incident that involved what could have been a potential gun incident involving his friend and Pacers players. He may be having another amazing season NBA-wise, but outside of the NBA, he has been in news for the absolute wrong reasons. And the last thing we need is another NBA player who have been given the privilege to make millions of dollars to ruin it for himself for something he could absolutely avoid it. Ja Morant has the potential to become the new age Derrick Rose without the injury for years to come, and let's hope he stays out of trouble and continues to get better and better all around as a player, potentially win a championship for the Memphis Grizzlies and be their all-time best player.
With the 3rd pick in the 2020 NBA Draft, the Charlotte Hornets select Lamelo Ball from Chino Hills, California.
With the 3rd pick of the 2020 NBA Draft, the Charlotte Hornets draft one of the most interesting and possibly controversial prospects in NBA draft history, Lamelo Ball. And it's for good reason. Being a near top recruit in his time in high school, his dad removed him to play in Lithuania, then he goes back to high school to play his senior year, gets banned from playing in the NCAA due to his professional status from being in Lithuania and having a signature shoe, and goes to Australia to play in another pro league where he averaged 17, 7, and 7, however, while owning some of the worst shooting splits in the league, with shooting splits of 37% from the field, 25% from 3, and 72% from the free throw line. To say that he was an interesting prospect is putting it very, very lightly. In the 2020 NBA Draft, he was thought to have some of the most upside in the draft if put in the right situation. And going third to the Charlotte Hornets was going to be an interesting start to his career due to his coach at the time in James Borrego, who was already known to be infamous about his treatment of young players. And interesting treatment he received, as he did not start the first 21 games in the NBA as a pro for the backcourt duo of Terry Rozier and Devontae Graham. But due to a Devontae Graham injury, he was finally able to start and finally be able to take over the city of Charlotte. In that season, he proved all doubters wrong about his struggles in the NBL, myself included, by going out there and averaging 15, 6, and 6 on way better shooting splits in his rookie season. And this is mostly accounted for the fact of his lack of high difficulty shots that he was prone to take in the NBL and the openness of the court in NBA offenses. Outside of the wizardry and finesse that he would put in his passes, his rookie season wasn't the most extraordinary. However, when it came to winning the actual award, he did have some competition, and his name was Anthony Edwards, who was the first pick of the draft. And Ant was out there impressing NBA fans with his scoring prowess, scoring 19 points a game, however on worse shooting splits than Lamelo Ball. But due to Lamelo's all-around game in Charlotte and possibly some internet points, Lamelo Ball ran away with the Rookie of the Year race, obtaining 84 first-place votes to Anthony Edwards' 15. And with the trust in his coach in James Borrego, the keys of the franchise was finally given to him as he leveled up in his second season, boosting his averages to 20 points a game and shooting almost 40% from 3 at the same time, being top 10 in assists per game, top 10 in steals per game, and most importantly, becoming an all-star in his second season. And in that same effort, he went all the way to the NBA play-in for the chance to make it to the playoffs for the first time in his career. However, the Hornets got blown out in that same effort by 29 points. But in his current NBA season, Lamelo is once again on the road to superstardom, once again garnering career highs in points and assists. At this point, it is safe to say that he is waiting to have a real chance in the league with the Hornets, so we're just gonna have to wait and see who will be Lamelo Ball's eventual running mate in the NBA to help him get there, because Lamelo Ball will be in the NBA doing what he does for many years to come and dominating for many years to come.
The podium.
With the 4th pick in the 2021 NBA Draft, the Toronto Raptors select Scottie Barnes from Florida State University.
Wow.
Look at that.
Wow. This is what draft night is all.
And with the 4th overall pick of the 2021 NBA Draft, the Toronto Raptors draft Scottie Barnes from Florida State, and one of my favorite players in the draft. Scottie Barnes is exactly someone that Masai Ujiri would draft to be a Toronto Raptor. A 6'8" wing with a 7'2" wingspan, which means he has ample potential to be whatever he wants in the league. And he's already showed that he had an all-around game in his time at Florida State, averaging 10, 4, and 4. And despite him coming off the bench in college, Scottie was still looked at as a top prospect in that year's NBA draft. However, to win this award, he truly had a lot of competition to go against. You had the 1st overall pick in the draft in Cade Cunningham, who was undisputably the best player in the draft with his all-around game and being a 6'7" point guard. Jalen Green for the G League Ignite, who's able to put up heavy scoring numbers at will. And Evan Mobley, the lengthy forward, who was looked to be one of the best defenders in the draft with offensive upside. But how did Scottie win this award over everyone else I just mentioned? Well, in Toronto, he will be playing alongside other players with similar builds to learn off of, in OG Anunoby, Pascal Siakam, Chris Boucher, and others. And most importantly, he would play under Nick Nurse, who would give him ample playing time to figure out the NBA game, and not because they own one of the worst benches in the NBA, never that. But anyways, in that season, Scottie Barnes played the 11th most minutes in the NBA in total and averaged the 9th most per game, and he was able to really get going and finding his stride in the NBA. In his rookie season alone, he was able to show off all facets of the game that made him regarded as one of the most potential players in the draft. He was ranked 3rd amongst rookies in scoring at 15 a game, 3rd in rebounds with 7 a game, and 7th in assists with 3 a game. He was also top 20 in offensive rebounds a game at the same time in the entire NBA. And while his numbers didn't exactly stand out, he was also helping contribute big time to a Raptors team who would end up being the 5th seed in the East to make the playoffs. But to be real with you, you couldn't go wrong with the selection of him or Evan Mobley, who himself contributed big time as the NBA player in his rookie season, as he was one of the best shot blockers in the NBA and top 20 rebounder in his rookie season. Due to that, people argue that Mobley provided more to his team and deserved a Rookie of the Year award, and I absolutely can see where they were coming from. In my own opinion, you couldn't go wrong with either selection. Again, I had zero say when it came to who should have been picked over who. But when it came down to the official votes, Scottie Barnes and Evan Mobley quite literally almost split the first place votes, with Scottie getting 48 and Evan getting 43. And in the total votes, well, Scottie ended up winning in total votes by 15, one of the closest Rookie of the Year voting races ever. So with that, Rookie of the Year trophy obtained and recognized him as the top initial rookie, and his improvement will be looked at very closely. However, in the second season, he is putting up very similar stats from his rookie season. However, to provide some context, the Raptors are pretty much the same exact team as they've been the last year, with very minimal changes. So his role has stayed the exact same. So for Scottie to really see some real improvement, a change would have to be made to the roster so he can get more touches and opportunities to do other things. It almost happened during the trade deadline this season, but with 0 trades outside of adding Jakob Poeltl, we're just going to have to wait and see how things turn out for him. Unfortunately, people on Twitter don't see that and calling him another version of Michael Carter Williams due to that lack of improvement. But remember, NBA fans, there's context to everything in the sport of basketball. Give it some time and let some change happen before you go after my boy Scottie Barnes. When you win the Rookie of the Year award, you are expected to keep up the same play that earned you the award in the first place. Some winners are flashes in the pans with fortunate situations, and some are just showing that they are meant to get it due to their draft position. However, at the same time, it's never a true marker of being the best in their class. Again, a perfect example of this is MCW winning it in 2014. However, Giannis in that same draft class would end up winning 2 MVPs and a championship. So Paolo Banchero, again, being the most likely winner of this year's trophy, let's see if he will end up continuing to improve and justify his #1 placement in the draft and again winning this award, or will someone end up jumping him years later? However it turns out, it'll be entertaining nonetheless. But as always, I hope you enjoyed today's video and learned something new, as my vision for this channel is to inform and entertain. Check out my social medias for the Inside Life of Alvini and other channel news. Check out my Twitch and my second channel where I post my streams. And lastly, if you want to talk to your boy, there is always my Discord. Links are in the description. With all that out of the way, this is your boy, Alvini Linguini, saying peace.